The rainforest swallowed sound. Dense, heavy foliage hung over the Arawan Crater like a veil of secrets, its edges overgrown with twisted trees and gnarled vines that had never known sunlight. Only a few dared enter the mist-filled basin nestled deep in the heart of the jungle, and even fewer returned. It was on the 11th day of the June expedition that Dr. Helen Strauss's team discovered the claw. At first, they mistook it for a twisted tree root or perhaps some ancient tool buried in overgrown moss. But as the mist cleared and the clouds shifted above, the team gasped. It was unmistakably unnatural. The object jutted from the earth like the talon of some buried titan, a black, glistening claw easily the size of a grown man, adorned with glowing red nodes like pulsing veins. Each talon curved with predatory intent, and the soil around it was stained crimson as if the ground had bled. The air thickened. Helen crouched by it, her eyes wide with the kind of childlike wonder that only seasoned archaeologists could summon. In the face of the inexplicable, but beneath her awe was a gnawing dread she couldn't name. "It's not metal," whispered Jonas, her assistant, running a scanner along its edge. "Organic material, but with traces of silicon and God, this is reading like a bioweapon." Helen said nothing. Her fingers grazed its surface, smooth and oddly warm. That night, the nightmares began. The first to disappear was Kara, the geologist. She'd gone to retrieve core samples from the southern ridge and never came back. They found her boots the next morning, 100 feet apart, facing opposite directions, as if she'd been yanked from the earth mid-stride. Then came Eric, the biologist. They found him muttering near the claw, digging into the soil with bare hands, nails torn and bleeding. He screamed when anyone approached. "It's speaking to me," he whispered later in the medical tent, eyes glassy and fixed on nothing. "It's remembering." Helen stayed. She should have left. She knew that. But something in her needed to know what this thing was. She couldn't stop thinking about it, not even for a moment. It was as if the claw had hooked into her mind as deeply as it was rooted into the earth. At night, she dreamed of alien skies. Twin moons drifted over jagged spires. A creature, no, a god, moved beneath obsidian waters, its form too vast, too wrong to be contained by her human understanding. Its claws, countless and enormous, reached across galaxies, planting themselves in distant worlds. And in every dream, she stood in the middle of a field, watching one of those claws rise from the soil. On the 16th day, the claw moved. Only slightly, a shudder, a twitch, but enough that the soil cracked and the crimson light pulsed stronger. Jonas screamed. The jungle held its breath. "We need to leave," he said. "Now, burn the samples, delete the scans. This thing, it's a beacon." But it was too late. That night, the sky above the crater tore open. There was no sound, only a flash, pure white, brighter than the sun, then a thunderous silence that pressed into their skulls like a vice. Above the trees, stars blinked out. Something descended. It was not a ship, it was not a creature, it was a presence. Invisible yet heavy, like a consciousness poured into their world through a hole in reality. Trees bent toward it. The mist parted and hovered, weightless and trembling. Helen walked into the field toward the claw, eyes unblinking. Her body moved without her permission. The claw pulsed red once, twice, and then split open like a blooming flower. What emerged was a single black orb, dripping with oily light. It floated to Helen and hovered before her eyes. "We were warned," Jonas whispered, tears streaming down his face. "The crater is not a scar, it's a womb." The orb entered Helen's chest. She didn't scream. Her body stiffened, lifted several feet above the ground, and then hung there like a marionette. The grass below blackened. The claw closed again, now glowing violet, and Helen spoke, but it wasn't her voice. "We are the remnants of hollow stars," the thing that wore her skin said. "Your world was seeded, now it must bloom." The team scattered. Jonas ran until he collapsed. He alone survived long enough to tell the story. He was found days later by a search party, wandering the jungle barefoot and bloodied, muttering about claws and voices and a sky that had cracked like glass. Arawan Crater was declared a military no-fly zone. The jungle around it was scorched and sealed, but satellite images show that the field has grown since then. And if you listen closely to the winds above the crater, you might hear whispers in a language older than stars.